going on.
Thank you so much.
Feel like $1 million.
Shout out TMZ, you up?
Let me check out that rig.
TMZ stands for the Mayweather Zone.
How'd you find me, bro? I got my disguise on.
I love my TMZ family. Smoochie.
Cleveland Browns select.
Welcome to TMZ Sports. I'm Mike Babcock. My guys, Mojo Muhtadi, Lucas Widman. He had to wait a couple more days than he expected, but there was the moment that, with the 144th pick, Lucas's Cleveland Browns selected Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Of course, Shedeur Sanders, many people from his father, Deion Sanders, on down expected that he would be selected way higher, potentially as high as with the third pick in the draft in the first round. Of course, he had to wait, obviously, until the fifth round when he was finally scooped up. Lucas, you are a fan of the Browns. What are you thinking here?
Well, I mean, it's fun. Look, it's at the end of the day, it's a fifth-round pick. So if it doesn't work out, it's not like it's the end of our franchise. You have someone who a lot of people thought, like you said, was going to go in the first round, and here he is in the fifth. Hopefully he can prove the doubters wrong. And if not, then, we could release him tomorrow, and nothing would be different. Not that that's going to happen, but look, the future of the Cleveland Browns isn't going to be, say, 17-0 this upcoming season. So maybe he has time to develop a little bit.
Right. Obviously, picking somebody with the first pick, you have a lot of financial obligations to, right? You're talking about potentially $35 million to a first, second, third, fourth pick, a guy taken in that range. You're talking about a couple $1 million with a guy in the fifth round. You don't like him, you move on from him, no sweat at all.
Right, and everyone's talking about, there's 5 guys in the QB room now. Well, forget Deshaun Watson. He's never playing for the Browns again. Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, one of those guys is going to make it to the regular season roster. Then you have Dylan Gabriel. Yes, a very questionable pick when you're going to be taking Shedeur Sanders, or maybe they didn't know, depending on whether the ownership stepped in and told Stefanski and Andrew Berry, hey, you got to take this guy. But no matter what, it's going to be fun. I told Babcock earlier today, throughout this entire regular season, ask on Friday, hey, where's the circus this weekend? And I'll tell you, the Browns are in Cincinnati, or they're hosting the Ravens, whatever. I don't really care when I wasn't expecting to go to the playoffs anyway. Right. So at least make it entertaining.
Mojo, you know what? I don't know who is going to do Hard Knocks, but I know who I hope does Hard Knocks, and I hope it's the Cleveland Browns.
It's not Babcock. I already checked. I think they're ineligible this season. And trust me, that's exactly where my mind went. They recently did that season on the entire AFC North. So I think it knocked out all 4 teams in one shot. But you're right. I don't know. Maybe they make a special exception because this is clearly what everyone wants to see. But to both of your point, you take Shedeur in the 5th round. What you're definitely getting, obviously, you're not sure if you have a franchise quarterback or not, especially in the 5th round and that being a crowded room. But what you're definitely going to get is the eyes and the focus of the league. There's going to be a lot of people tuning in to see what happens here. I mean, the fact that he dropped so much is raising a lot of questions. Everyone is debating why this happened, and no one will ever have the answers for sure. It's not like these NFL GMs and owners are ever going to come clean and all say exactly what happened here, I don't think. But everyone's going to wonder, and now everyone's going to be tuning in. So it really did kind of open up an opportunity to get some more eyes on the team. Lucas, no disrespect here, but Cleveland Browns aren't usually the most universally viewed in the NFL. There's a couple other teams that are usually at the top of the headlines there. So, again, Lucas, I hope this doesn't ruin our friendship. But very exciting times in Cleveland. Excited to see what happens here.
Yeah, and I'll say this for Shedeur, as grueling as it must have been for him to watch the draft. He thinks he's going to get drafted Thursday. Doesn't happen. Friday, surely, second and third round, I'm getting drafted. Doesn't happen. for him to have to go through what he had to go through, the moment he actually did hear his name called, you could see the joy on his face. He then, as we showed you, he goes and he jumps in the pool. And then afterwards, later on in the night, guys, he actually headed, Shedeur did, with some family, with some friends, to a local Dallas nightclub where he partied. And not just those fam and friends, but also some big stars by his side celebrating the draft pick, including Young Miami, Kodak Black. They were in the house. Like we've said last week with Warren Moon, it doesn't necessarily matter ultimately where you're drafted. It matters how you play once you get to a team. Nothing that happened for Shedeur means he's not going to be a great player. He could go on and be a Hall of Famer. It's all in front of him. It's all up to him. Now is when the work really starts.
Hey, is this Shedeur? Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're going to take you with our next pick right here, man.
This ain't gonna be nothing to do.
Hey, but you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
Well, there it was. Friday night, Shedeur Sanders getting the prank phone call heard around the world. He thought at the time it was Mickey Loomis, the GM of the New Orleans Saints, who had the next pick. Turns out it was not Mickey Loomis. No, it was actually the son of the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons and one of his buddies. This is an absolutely massive controversy here, guys. So, Jeff Ulbrich is the newly hired coordinator in Atlanta. He was previously a defensive coach with the New York Jets, turned interim head coach once Saleh got fired. Well, welcome to Atlanta, I guess. He is now, thanks to his son, part of this big controversy. So people started to sort of pick up, guys, on what had happened after, Shedeur, and people who knew Shedeur said, hey, look, nobody had this phone number except for NFL executives. He got the number strictly for draft night so teams could contact him. So nobody should have had this number except people within the NFL family. Well, turns out, yeah, that all checks out because it was Jeff's son, Jax. Now, Jax, who was 21 years old, is actually a football player at a Division III college called Berry College in Georgia. He is now fessing up and begging for forgiveness. Here's what he had to say. On Friday night, I made a tremendous mistake. Shedeur, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Now, just to be clear again, it's not Jax who is actually the one talking on the phone. Jax is the guy on the couch next to his buddy who is the one who actually made the call. But Jax is the one who got the number from one of his dad's technological devices, his iPad, something like that. So not a great look, guys. The Falcons have also apologized. From what we have been able to gather so far, it does not seem like the league is going to punish dad for what his son did. But still, again, a horrible, horrible look for the Ulbrich family.
Yeah, time and a place, guys. And, for these two guys in the video, especially Jax, this is as close as you're going to get to the NFL draft, so I guess enjoy it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Shedeur Sanders, say what you want, but that was really nerve-wracking for him. Someone who expected to go top 5, regardless of what actually happened. And, on day 2, he's really champing at the bit to get his name called. And then you have these two punks really messing it all up. I mean, he played it cool and he said he accepted the apology, or according to Jax, accepted the apology. But, in all honesty, karma is coming back to get these guys. And I hope it does in a pretty solid way.
Fellas, I've been there waiting for that phone call. In my case, it was a phone call that didn't come. I wasn't drafted, and you're just sitting there on pins and needles, just praying that one of these guys is willing to take a chance on you. And it is nerve-wracking. You tell everyone that you know, do not call me, do not text me. I got to keep the lines clear. I mean, for this guy, he got a whole new phone altogether to make sure it was clear. I mean, he went as far as he could possibly go to protect himself and, keep his situation confidential in that moment. And these, kids took that moment away from him. It was stupid. It was really dumb. I don't know what's going to happen to these kids. I mean, obviously, I think they're going to catch a lot of flack on campus, as two college kids walking around. I think there's going to be a lot of people that didn't find this funny and, going on Twitter. Did not take long for people to see what the general consensus was surrounding this. So these kids are going to face a hard road. I mean, I hope nothing happens to the dad. I mean, he probably had no idea this was going to happen. I can't imagine there was a world where he passed this information on to his kid to help facilitate this. If anything, he's probably the most embarrassed party in this entire thing and, worried about his own reputation now. And, obviously in a tough position with that being his kid. But, for these two kids, I mean, there might come a time where they're waiting on that phone call. And you better believe there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be trying to get a hold of them and making that as uncomfortable for them as possible. So really stupid. They apologized. It ain't going to be the end of this for them. And to be honest with you, they should expect some more to come after something like that.
Coming up, wait until you see what Bill Belichick's girlfriend did during an interview when the legendary coach was asked about their relationship. The video coming your way when TMZ Sports returns right after this. Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Mike and Mojo. Mojo, Bill Belichick sat down for an interview on Sunday with CBS Mornings. When, Mojo, the topic of conversation turned to his 24-year-old girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, and how they met, Mojo. And that's when things turned awkward because, well, the aforementioned 20-something-year-old girlfriend, she stepped in and she said, I don't want you answering that question. Take a look.
The other change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that that's the philosophy.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on, though Hudson has recently posted about it on Instagram.
Mojo, just like that, shut down. We're not talking about that.
Dude, she wasn't even in the interview. She's sitting on the side somewhere calling the shots like she's the Bill Belichick of this whole thing. This is wild. I mean, look, part of me completely understands it, right? I mean, if we're talking about Bill Belichick, who's arguably the greatest coach in football history, a lot to talk about there with his legacy, a lot to talk about with the fact that for the first time ever, he's going to be a college coach and how different that's going to be and the new challenge he's going to incur and the NIL and all these things. So there is no shortage of professional questions to ask Bill Belichick, but the only thing anyone wants to talk about is the young girlfriend. Now, granted, that's going to come with the territory. It is an unusual situation. You don't encounter something like this every day. So you have to understand that these questions are probably going to pop up in any interview you have. I mean, look, that being said, if they feel like they've gotten to a point where they've answered and spoke about it enough, and now it's to the point where maybe it's too distracting as they're getting closer to season and there's bigger fish to fry. They clearly, well, actually, let me rephrase that. She's clearly drawn the line that there will be no conversation further on it. It looked to me like Bill was ready to dive into that conversation. Maybe he's still loving this. Maybe he still wants to talk about it more, Babcock.
Puka Nacua's brother slaps a fan during a UFL football game over the weekend. Well, Now authorities are investigating. The very latest on a serious incident between a player and a fan when TMZ Sports comes back right after this. Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Mike and Mojo. Mojo, the brother of NFL star Puka Nacua, is potentially in some trouble with police in St. Louis. And it all had to do with something that happened after his brother's football game in Missouri on Saturday. If you haven't seen this, watch what happened after Samson Nacua's Panthers team lost to the St. Louis Battlehawks. Watch this. So Mojo, there it was. I mean, it's clear as day. Samson smacks that fan right in the face. It seems like the two guys were jawing at each other, the fan and the football player, but then Samson just smack right in the face. Now, this is a UFL football game. Obviously, this is not an NFL game. UFL. And Mojo, we talked to police in St. Louis, and they have seen this. They are aware of this, and they are now investigating. And obviously, when there's a criminal investigation, what's always possible? Criminal charges. So we might be looking at what is more surely than a suspension and a fine, Mojo. Again, we could actually be talking about something that leads to his arrest.
I want to talk to Samson, Babcock. I want to talk to Samson and see what was going on here, what was said before this that made him slap that man like that. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I've been on fields before, and there have been times where I would have loved to slap a fan in the face for pushing it just a little bit too far. But these are just dreams, Babcock. In reality, you just can't do it unless that man puts his hands on you first. There's not much that they can say that's going to warrant that kind of response, especially in a court of law. So, I mean, this is going to be a problem. I mean, you just can't act that way. He slapped the mess out of that man. I'm actually kind of surprised the dude no-sold it as much as he did. He like barely flinched. I mean, those slaps right there are the fastest route to a concussion. Man, in pro wrestling, we used to slap each other from time to time. I hated it. I would have so much rather been punched in the face because those open hand slaps, again, that will give you a concussion in a second. So
right. I think, Mojo, people think that because it's not a punch, no big deal. But like you say, I mean, it's not good. It doesn't feel good. And you can actually get hurt.
Yeah, the way your brain bounces around in your skull after a slap, way worse than getting a punch. I mean, that is a problem. And again, that's probably going to come up in the reports. Saw a lot of people online, too, mad about this because, UFL is a newer league, right? And it's hard to get fans to come to a secondary football league. We've seen so many of them fail in the past. And this right here, apparently, is actually one of the best fan bases in the entire league. They show up and they support. So even though they might be loud and obnoxious, especially if you're the away team, I got to think if you're the league, you don't want to establish a precedent that these things are going to go unpunished. I mean, I don't expect this guy to get hit with a fine the size of what they would in the NFL. I mean, they make a fraction of the salary that those players do. But I got to think there is going to be some action by the league for sure. And the league coming forward, too, to try and prevent a future lawsuit here. Because don't forget, this happened at a game. They're probably going to be listed on the ticket as well if something goes to court. So I guess we'll see what happens here. But you just can't lose your mind like that in a situation like this. You just can't.
Up next, the San Francisco Giants win a game in the most unusual walk-off fashion. Something you would normally see on a Little League field is coming your way next on TMZ Sports.
Ramos is 1 for 2. Taps this one to third. And he throws it down the right field line. Ramos is on the move. And he is going to stop. No, now he's going to go to third. Here's the throw. It gets by him. Here comes Ramos. This game is over.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports, Mike and Mojo. Mojo, we're going to do a little MLB oddity before we get out of here today. That was a walk-off that you'd be more apt to see on a Little League field, Mojo. I don't know how many times I have been a part of a bunch of them. A lot of times throwing the ball away myself, I think, as a kid. You know how it goes, Mojo. You got the little kids out there, not the greatest baseball players. You're throwing the ball around. No one's catching it. Ball's all over the place. The runner's just going base to base to base to base. And that's exactly what happened with San Francisco Giants left fielder Helio Ramos, who, I mean, he looks exhausted. He did a lot of running there, Mojo. But game over, thanks to very interesting walk-off.
This is like something we would see in Angels in the outfield, where the Angels are like invisible, moving the ball around and causing all the base error. That was ridiculous. I love it. That was exciting. I mean, I could watch this many times in a row, and I actually already have, but crazy that this is happening at this level, the highest level of baseball, and it was for the game, Babcock. This was to seal the deal, a walk-off, calling it quits. This is the last performance you put on the field, but I'm sure everyone at the stadium was absolutely loving this, losing their minds. In error, a mistake. I mean, you hope you can come back from this and not do this again, but statistically, I don't think you would anyways.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and I think this is what a lot of people love about baseball. There are thousands of games every year, Mojo, and you can turn on any ordinary game on a Sunday night, and you'll see something that is, you never see before. That's baseball Susan. This is the perfect representation of that, Mojo. All right, we have got to go. We'll see what happens tonight in Major League Baseball. Undoubtedly something crazy. We'll have a bunch to talk about tomorrow, Mojo. It's going to be a great show.
That's right, Babcock. It'll be the best show since today.
I'm a lawyer.